I think tonight's going to be a real treat. I've taken about 12 years of experience, 12 years of information, 12 years of working with people just like yourself, and kind of collapsed that down to about 45 minutes of information. Over that 12 years or past decade, I've worked with hundreds of people, and I've helped them to lose and, more importantly, keep off thousands of pounds. So I call this presentation Winning the Weight Loss Game. Few things, it's something that few people are achieving. When it comes to weight loss, most people are confused, they're overwhelmed, they're disappointed, they don't know where to turn, they don't know where to go. So this evening, I've come here to provide you with clarity, and I'm hoping, I really believe that by the time you walk out of here, you're going to be so much further ahead than when you came in. Because when we talk about playing the game, tonight really what I'm going to do is just provide you with the rules. And I think that we all know, when we know the rules, your chances of succeeding at any game are going to become that much greater. So, anytime I speak to a group, I always bring with me a dose of what I call common sense. Anybody know who this is and what time frame it might be from? This is Jack LaLanne. Jack LaLanne, the picture was taken in the early 1940s, but I brought it in for several reasons. Number one, before the South Beach diet, before the Atkins diet, before fat burners, carb trappers, and Cord Slim, people were getting in shape. The other point I'd like to make is that if we examine the human body in the early 40s and compare it to that of today, you would see that nothing has changed. I mean, literally, we could take an anatomy and physiology book from the early 40s, set it down right next to it, an anatomy and physiology book from 2008, compare the two, you'd see our cardiovascular systems are the same, our endocrine systems are the same, our musculoskeletal systems are the same, digestive systems are the same. We could do the same with dietetics. Proteins and carbs are still 4 calories a gram, alcohol, still 7 calories a gram, and fats are still 9 calories a gram. So, regardless of what you've been exposed to in the mass media, regardless of what your friends are telling you, regardless of what you see on those magazine covers as you walk through the grocery store checkout line, we are more the same than we are different. And if the goal, if the outcome was to change your body in a positive way, the things that worked in the 40s are the same stuff that works today. If the goal, the outcome was to lose fat, more importantly, keep it off, the technology, the steps that you had to take, the rules that you had to follow, in the 40s, those were the same things you had to follow in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and in this year, 2008. Just a show of hands, how many of you showed up tonight because you were hoping I would be able to deliver some information that you would be able to benefit from in a positive way? Dynamite. Again, I commend you. How many of you showed up so that you can get an extra 300 points towards your... Sean. So, again, you guys are here tonight, so I commend you. If you're going to change anything, you're going to change anything in your life, 3 aspects absolutely must be met. Number 1, you need to believe you're capable. Number 2, you need the right formula, the right recipe, or the right technology. And then the last one is you've got to follow through. And here's the problem, especially in today's day and age, is that so many people for so long have been investing and buying into programs that are ineffective. And so they go after an ineffective technology after ineffective technology after ineffective technology. And as a result, they begin to believe, I can't lose weight. This stuff doesn't work for me. So what happens is their belief system shuts down. Belief system shuts down, and then they fail to follow through on anything. And just looking at the weight loss industry in general, it's about a $50 billion a year industry. And we can say that there are more so-called weight loss and fitness solutions today than there has ever been, but obesity is at an all-time high. And this is an industry that's thriving because it's failing. People are failing to get what they pay for, but again, they're so confused, they're so overwhelmed, they keep coming back for more. And they play that game that I call fitness roulette. They'll jump from program to program to program, hoping to find that one program that will work, when in fact, none of them do. And again, they wind up frustrated, disappointed, and their belief system shuts down. So I can tell you this with absolute confidence. A mentor of mine told me if you have ever failed to achieve the weight loss or fitness result that you were looking for, it wasn't your failure. It was the failure of the program that you were attempting to change with. And again, there's just been this great perception that's been built. And the perception is this, is that you've got options. So it's like you can try this diet is option A. You could try the supplement program, which would be option B. You could try the infomercial product with option C. Or you can physically challenge your body and you can optimally nourish that with quality food. And I think everybody knows, at least rationally, we all know that this option D, that's what works. And that's what works to bring us permanent, lasting, long-term weight loss. But we find ourselves gravitating back to these A, B, and C's. And there's reasons for that. Again, number one, we're just hoping, we're believing that they'll work. But what has happened is, when we buy into these things, there's a drastic difference between weight loss and fat loss. And I think a lot of people are confused about that. And when we talk about weight loss, and that's what most of the products that you're being presented with, and so most of the things that people buy into, we talk about weight loss as really there are thousands of technologies. And if you don't think that's accurate, go out and ask your neighbors, ask your friends, ask 100 people, how do you lose weight? How many different answers do you think you'll get? You're going to get a lot. We talk about fat loss, there's really only one technology. And this technology, again, is just understanding these rules. It's about putting your body in a state, or I call an environment. Put your body in an environment where it's capable of releasing fat and capable of burning fat. We talk about weight loss. Weight loss is associated with losing muscle. So we do the diet programs, we lose muscle. Fat loss is associated with maintaining muscle. And you'll understand the importance of that as we go into this a little bit deeper, because with weight loss is going to slow metabolism. Or with losing muscle. When we lose muscle, we will slow metabolism. Muscle is that's the actual physical location of our body where we burn fat. Muscle's actually, that's metabolism. With fat loss, we're maintaining muscle. We can definitely maintain metabolism. And in some instances, we can even speed metabolism. So we'll talk a little bit about metabolism. And really, I guess the most concise definition of metabolism is it's the amount of energy required to sustain life. And really what this means, what this is saying, is that there is a certain caloric requirement, there is a certain amount of energy that must be met in order to keep metabolism up and in order to prevent metabolism from actually slowing down or crashing. To elaborate further, you need to understand something called resting metabolic rate. Resting metabolic rate is really just the amount of energy used to fuel essential functions such as temperature regulation, breathing, blood circulation, heart rate, nerve transmission, and the cost of protein turnover required to maintain cells. We would also call this the amount of energy required to run the machine. So we'll elaborate on this a little bit further. We are living, breathing organisms that require energy just to sustain life. And each bodily function has a certain caloric requirement. So we may say that our heart might require 300 calories per day. Our brain may require 350 calories per day. Lungs, 50 or 60 calories per day. And then again, we talked about that muscle tissue. Each pound of muscle that's on your body is going to require about 50 calories per day to maintain its existence. So if we go on an extreme diet, or if we are not sufficiently meeting our energy needs, your body actually does you a favor. What your body is going to do, it looks at, I've got to take care of the heart, I've got to take care of the brain, I've got to take care of all the organs and the essential functions, because those are more important than muscle. Those require energy, muscle requires energy as well. So it actually does you a favor. It will begin breaking down muscle tissue and removing it, because that muscle tissue is consuming energy, but it's not necessarily essential for life. They would say the brain is more important than the biceps. So if that's the case, if we're not consuming, or we're not bringing in enough energy to maintain the amount of muscle in our body, we lose muscle, we're going to end up slowing metabolism. And to really, if we go to absolute extreme measures, we say metabolism is the amount of energy required to sustain life. I think everybody in here can understand how a 22-year-old person who is suffering from an eating disorder or a severe case of anorexia, how a 22-year-old person could die of heart failure or kidney failure, whatever the case may be. It's just failure to consume enough energy to sustain life. So, just a little bit about diets, and they're all the same. You guys can write this down. Diets really do two things. Number one, they slow metabolism, and they always lead to a rebound in weight gain. That's really what diets do. diets will slow metabolism, and they always lead to a rebound in weight gain. And it doesn't matter what the diet's called, it doesn't matter what nutrient they're indicting as the enemy, carbs are bad, fats are bad, whatever. They're really all the same, they're really all built on calorie deprivation. But this is actually research going back to the early 70s, showing that when we go on a diet, about 50% of the weight that we lose is going to be lost in that lean, metabolically active, calorie-consuming, fat-burning muscle tissue. Again, we lose muscle, we slow metabolism. But for most people, they might lose 1, 2, 3 pounds a week. But if they lose 2 pounds a week, they've lost a pound of muscle. And I just said, each pound of muscle on your body requires about 50 calories per day to maintain its existence. So we lose a pound of muscle. Now we're actually burning 50 fewer calories per day than when we started the diet. So today, I told you I was going to come in here, I was just going to provide you with the rules. And the rules are these are just 3 fundamental elements that everybody in this room, everybody in here is capable of applying. And when we apply these things, and especially when we apply them consistently, that's what's going to positively affect metabolism. That's what's actually going to raise metabolism. And I guess that's probably the one thing that I do that most people don't do, is that my focus is on metabolism. My focus isn't necessarily on weight loss. Because if we take care of metabolism, weight loss just becomes a byproduct of having a stronger, faster metabolism. But these 3 fundamentals are, number 1, we've got to be able to get to the right nutrients, consuming the right nutrients, and that comes in the right amount, that comes in the right frequency, and that comes in the right ratios. By the time you leave today, I think you'll be fairly clear on what you need to do regarding the nutritional element. Number 2, you absolutely have to challenge your musculoskeletal system on a regular basis. We have to challenge our muscles with some form of resistance, whether that would be weight training or body weight training or using medicine balls or elastic bands, whatever the case may be. And that is probably the most significant contributor to aging, is just that we're losing muscle throughout the aging process. If we don't do anything to stop it, we're going to lose muscle. And the last one is you've got to regularly challenge your cardiovascular system with aerobic activity. And again, I think I'll be able to clarify that by the time we all head out of here. So we just do those 3 things. We're going to create that environment. We're going to create that environment where we're building and boosting metabolism. And again, I had talked about environment before, but really our diet and exercise habits, or lack thereof, set up this hormonal environment within our body. So I set up this hormonal environment within our body, and that really determines, are nutrients being stored as fat, or are they being stored as lean muscular tissue? Just to reference environments, because there are very specific environments, there are very specific conditions, very specific patterns for everything. There's a very specific condition, there's a very specific pattern for tornadoes, there's a very specific condition and pattern for fog, there's a very specific condition for growing mold, and there's a very specific environment that we can all create, and everybody in here creates. There are very specific environments that we create for storing fat, and there are very specific environments that we create for losing fat. Again, going to like an extreme example, storing fat. If you wanted to know what's the quickest, fastest way that I can get fat, sumo wrestlers know the technology, and they apply it to their advantage. But it goes something like this. Skip breakfast. They eat their first meal around lunchtime, about noon, and that's after working out. So it's not that they're not working out, they're working out. And then they're going to eat one more time before they go to bed. Who does that sound like? Sounds like a lot of the people who come and see me. Okay, a lot of people who come and see me, they're like, this is what I'm doing. I'm eating twice a day, and that's kind of the American way. That's what most people do. Flying out the door in the morning, they may or may not get something to eat, maybe some fast food for lunch, and then they come home, and they got that well-worn path between the couch and the refrigerator. They go to bed and do it again. So again, it's always going to come down, if we want to create this environment, and everybody in here can get leaner, everybody in here can get healthier, everybody in here can increase their energy, it's going to come down to these three things. Consuming the right nutrients, maintaining muscle by regularly challenging our musculoskeletal system, and then regularly challenging our cardiovascular system with aerobic activity. So this probably brings up new questions. What is going to be the right nutrients? How do we know if we're consuming the right nutrients? And of the three, I will start with the nutritional element because I think of the three elements, that's where most people have the most confusion. And when I refer to the right nutrition, we talk about the right foods, the right ratios, we talk about the right nutrition, the terminology that my mentor taught me, Bill Kaplan, was supportive eating, supportive nutrition. And this is really built around meals that is going to support health, it supports the stability of blood sugar, it supports energy, it supports the release of fat, it supports the growth and development of new healthy cells. This supportive eating is built around a concept called thermic meals. And thermic relates to heat. When I say the word thermic, there's a word in here that everybody knows, especially those who have been on diets, that they don't really understand. And that word is calorie. And I can tell you this because people will come up to me and they'll tell me they were on this 1,200 calorie diet or 1,000 calorie diet, and I'll ask them, what's a calorie? And most people don't know. So a calorie is just a unit of heat. More specifically, it's the amount of heat required to raise 1 kilogram of water 1 degree Celsius. And I realize that means absolutely nothing to you. But what you need to know is this. A calorie is actually fuel for heat generation in your body. Okay, so a calorie is fuel for heat generation in your body, and your body is a heat-producing machine. Right now, if we were to take your temperature, you'd probably be somewhere around 98.6 degrees. So, a calorie is a unit of heat. Your body is a heat-producing machine, and really a byproduct of metabolism is how quickly can your body take the nutrients, how quickly can your body take the food that you eat and convert those into heat. So, if the goal is to boost metabolism, we want to try to consume thermic meals. And by doing so, we cause our body to generate a significant amount of heat just in the act of eating and digestion. And I think everybody in here knows anytime that we move, anytime we exercise, we're burning calories, we're expending energy. There's actually a caloric cost to everything that we do. So we could be on the couch changing the remote. There's a caloric cost to that. If you blink your eye, there's a caloric cost to that. And there is a caloric cost to eating and digesting food. So food actually burns calories. So what we can do, we can get the food that cause our body to generate a lot of heat or burn a lot of calories, or we can get the foods that cause our body to not burn that many calories, not generate that much heat. We'll talk about the macronutrients, fat, carbohydrates, and proteins. And all of these are not created equal in this. Let's say if you were to do a 1,200 calorie diet of just ice cream and potato chips, or a 1,200 calorie diet of chicken breast, brown rice, and broccoli. I think everybody in this room would agree you're going to look different and you're going to feel different eating higher quality nutrition, even though the calories are the same. So when we talk about fat, we talked about generating energy or producing heat. Fat is actually the lowest heat producer of the three. So if we gave you a plate with 100 calories of fat on it and we asked you to eat it, you would expend energy doing that. You would only expend about 3 to 5 calories for eating 100 calories of fat. So we would say that fat is not a real high thermic food. We're not going to burn a lot of calories with that. The next one is carbohydrates, and I'm sure you guys have heard carbohydrates are bad, but I'm going to say bad carbohydrates are bad. The bleached, the refined products, things like white bread, donuts, bagels, those things, they tend to elevate blood sugar, they're easily converted to fat. What are good carbohydrates? Things such as yams, baked potatoes, oatmeal, whole grains, barley, those types of things. They are great slow-releasing energy substrates, and you burn about 10 calories for every 100 calories of carbohydrate that you eat. So we could say carbohydrates actually have twice the metabolic boosting effects that fats would have. And then the last one is protein. And some examples of protein might be egg whites, fish, chicken, turkey, pork loin, those types of things. For every 100 calories of protein that we eat, our body actually burns off about 25 calories in the act of digestion. Okay? That makes sense? Yes?
My wife's been working on the diet, and they're working with bleach for 2 hours and whole grains.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to get ourselves to the highest quality nutrients that we can. The bleach products, not only are they going to elevate blood sugar, but they're also going to trigger hunger. You'll be hungrier. Your energy is not going to be as good. But yeah, absolutely. So we're looking for whole grains. We're looking for things with a lot of fiber. Again, like baked potatoes, yams, lentils, beans, those types of things. Whole grains. So ideally, a thermic meal is going to consist of a lean protein, a starchy carbohydrate, and a fibrous carbohydrate. Fibrous carbohydrates are most of those things that you'd find in a salad. They're most of the vegetables that we would find in a salad. Ideally, without even counting calories, divide your plate in thirds. Your lean protein is about the same size as your starchy carbohydrate, which would be about the same size as your fibrous carbohydrates. By doing this, we provide ourselves with the amino acids for cellular growth and repair with our protein. We provide ourselves with a steady supply of energy with our carbohydrates. And our fibrous carbohydrates, those are the things that are going to provide the vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, antioxidants, and they do contain fiber, which aid in moving things through the digestive tract. So, an example of this may be an egg white omelet and a side of oats for breakfast. Maybe a whole wheat pita with some tuna and chopped veggies for lunch, and for dinner, chicken breast, broccoli, and some brown rice. Okay, so that's regarding the thermic effect of food. That's I guess that's component number one. You guys have this information, so I'm not going to go through it. But when we do this lean protein, starchy carbs, fibrous carbohydrates, preferably we're doing it every 3 to 3.5 hours. 5 to 6 times a day. I realize it's probably unrealistic at this point in time for most people in here. And the goal isn't necessarily perfection. The goal is just progress. If you're eating twice a day now, my recommendation to you would be increase your meal frequency to 3 times per day.
Would fruits fall into that?
Fruits would also be considered your fibrous carbohydrates. So we would, we want to encourage people to get the vegetables just because the pork content's going to be a little bit lower, the sugar content's going to be a little bit lower, and again, you're going to have all the vitamin, mineral, fiber benefits that you would get from fruit. But the goal is fat loss, losing fat, boosting metabolism. That's what works, and that's what works for human beings. Katie, you're applying this? Okay, and it's working? Okay, beautiful. But I just want to talk just a little bit about the simplicity of fat loss. And we talk about creating this environment. Fat loss is just a 2-step process. Step 1 is we've got to be able to release fat from a fat cell. We do that in one of 2 ways. The first way is through the nutrition that we eat. When we stabilize blood sugar, when we eat frequently, when we minimize simple sugars, we stabilize blood sugar. When blood sugar is stable, this fat cell is going to readily give up some of its adipose tissue. We also do it through physical activity. So when we're exercising, we elevate heart rate. That actually produces, let's say, chemicals within the body that end up releasing fat to be used as an energy source. So losing fat is a 2-step process. Step 1, release fat from a fat cell. Step 2, we want to burn fat through physical movement. I'll go quick. The goal is fat loss. I got a couple products with me. Just want to find out where you guys are at. I got a couple products. I'm going to hold them up. You guys tell me good or bad. Those are your only options. Fat loss is the goal. Cherry Coke. That's bad. This is bad. How about orange juice? Okay. Yes. It's good. We got one good, one bad, and a lot of quiet people. How about like a yogurt version smoothie? Okay. One fast. Really? Great house product. Bad? Okay, we'll just go one more. This is just a local fruit smoothie place. They throw the fruit in the blender, blend it up. Good or bad?
Excellent.
Excellent.
Really good.
Okay, on your guys' sheet, you can see the slide, and I'll get to the answer here in just a minute. But I just wanted, if I were to, everybody agreed this was bad. Coca-Cola. There's actually about 70-some grams of sugar in this bottle, and if I drank this bottle, I'd be pouring sugar into my system. So at the moment, temporarily, I have high blood sugar. That makes sense to everybody? Sugar and high blood sugar. Your brain senses that. Your brain is very interested in keeping things on very tight ranges. So blood sugar goes up, brain senses it, and calls down to the pancreas. Tells the pancreas there's too much sugar in the bloodstream. We need to remove some of this. Pancreas says, no problem, I will begin secreting this hormone called insulin. Insulin is a storage hormone. And its job is to come in, take some of that sugar out of the blood, or take the sugar out of the bloodstream, and transport it somewhere. It could be a muscle cell, it could be the liver, it could be a fat cell. Up here is kind of like a teeter-totter example. The way that the endocrine system is set up, you have opposing hormones, and that's what keeps things in homeostasis. That's what keeps things in balance. If the pancreas is secreting insulin, it decreases or shuts down its production of something called glucagon. Glucagon is a release hormone, and I said losing fat is a two-step process. That is the hormone, that, at least from a nutritional standpoint, that's the hormone responsible for releasing fat to be used as fuel. So every time we drink sugar, every time we assault our bloodstream with sugar, could be Coke, could be the orange juice, could be alcohol, blood sugar goes up, we secrete insulin, we just slam the door shut on releasing fat to be used as fuel. When we eat frequently, we stabilize blood sugar. When we minimize simple sugars, we stabilize blood sugar. Now we're shifting the scale to this side. We become more glucagon dominant, and we're capable of releasing more fat on a more regular basis to be used as an energy source. Does anybody in here crave sugar? Either like a sugaraholic? Self-diagnosed? Only Sandy? And Mrs. Litzak? Wow. Okay.
I'm better though.
Yeah, she's better.
That was the question.
Yes.
Let's say you are already had your Coke.
Yes.
Recommend that to you that puts you in a position to stabilize. I know it is.
I would definitely, I would recommend that. Absolutely. Yeah, we assault our bloodstream with sugar, we're going to be hungrier. And when blood sugar comes up, so if we assault our bloodstream with sugar, insulin's removing this sugar. Insulin's job again is to remove sugar from the bloodstream. It's a storage hormone. Your brain is interested in keeping things on very tight ranges. So once blood sugar returns back to a level that the brain is comfortable with, the brain will say, okay, pancreas, stop secreting insulin. So even though insulin production has stopped, it's kind of like when we're watering the garden or something and you turn off your hose, there's still water in the hose. There's still active amounts of insulin in your bloodstream continuing to remove sugar. So that will drive blood sugar down, and if blood sugar drops, what do you think you crave? Sugar. You got it. Yeah. So protein would definitely help, but my recommendation just again, you don't have to do this perfectly, but most of the time, minimize simple sugar. Yes.
How much fruit do?
Well, it's not that you shouldn't eat fruit. Eating fruit would be a heck of a lot better than drinking fruit. How many pieces? How much fruit are you eating now per day?
I love fruit. I can eat
every day.
If I had it.
Okay, you had it. I feel comfortable saying 3 to 4 pieces a day. Okay, most people, 3 pieces a day. If we say 3 pieces a day would be a reasonable amount, that's actually more than what they're eating anyways. So just to help you guys read labels a little bit, on here, just to show you the difference between, I'll tell you what, can you just cut the light for just a minute, maybe it'd be easier to see up here. I just wanted to, here's your Cherry Coke. In the blue box or the purple box is actually the serving size. Here's the orange juice. And the yellow is actually the grams of sugar per serving. So the Coke's 28, this is 24. Pound per pound, these are about the same. And is this healthy? Absolutely. Vitamin C, phytochemicals, antioxidants. What your body doesn't recognize is the sugar is coming from a healthy source or if it's coming from Coca-Cola. It will respond the same way. Is this on your... Yeah. Just so you guys know, you want a visual. Most Americans don't know what grams looks like. 1 teaspoon equals 4 grams of sugar. Okay? So in the Coke, I think there's 17 teaspoons here. Here there's 12 teaspoons. But again, this is like 15 ounces. This is 20. So pound for pound, they're about the same. Okay? Same thing with the Slim Fast, these yogurt, fruit and smoothies. And do you guys want to take a guess what this is? Cocaine, yeah. This is it's actually the average sugar consumption per American every day. Okay, this is what people are consuming every day. We consume about 170 pounds of sugar per year. So not that this is entirely the problem, but this is a large contributor of the problem. Okay, if we can minimize simple sugars, eat a little bit more frequently, people would